back to the Rantin Review Pro Wrestling. We're talking today about 5 things we want to know going into and coming out of AEW Double or Nothing, the big pay-per-view from All Elite Wrestling this Sunday from Las Vegas. But before we get into any of that, I want to remind you guys, this being YouTube, if you like videos like this, please hit that like button. It lets other people know about the video. And while you're down there, you might as well hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. YouTube's algorithm loves when you hit the like button, so I appreciate it very much. But let's talk about what I want to see coming out of AEW Double or Nothing this weekend. Unresolved stories and alumni are in at number 5. There are several AEW alumni that we haven't seen in AEW TV for quite some time. Obviously, the 2 biggest names there would be Miro, who's been out of AEW for a while. He showed up a little bit earlier or late last year, but we haven't seen much of the big Miro, the former TNT champion. So will he be making a showing here at Double or Nothing? Also, you have to wonder about Kenny Omega, even though it doesn't look like it's likely Kenny will be making a in-ring return or doing any physical action because he's still going through a lot of therapy and a lot of rehab and a lot of surgery to fix his banged up body from him becoming one of the biggest wrestlers over the last 6 years, not in WWE. It takes its toll on you. But are any of those guys showing up? And we also have some ongoing storylines. Christian Cage and Jungle Boy. Is Christian Cage going to be turning on Jungle Boy, as they've been hinting at for a long time now? And Julia Hart. What is going on with Julia Hart and the House of Black? Is she going to be involved in the trios match this weekend? Only time will tell. And there's a lot of other lingering storylines in AEW that we want to know whether or not they're going to be resolved or have another chapter in those stories coming up with Double or Nothing. Are we getting a trios title soon? As I mentioned before with the Julia Hart situation, there is a huge trios match this week with Death Triangle taking on the House of Black. And there's been a lot of rumors about a trios championship coming up in AEW for a long time. It's been noted and rumored that the belts have already been made. But Tony Khan is rumored to have said that he's waiting for Kenny Omega to come back to wrestling before he gets involved with those trios championships. And you would have to think that that's probably going to involve something with the Undisputed Elite and the Adam Cole and the Young Bucks and the Red Dragon situation. So I don't know, and I don't think we're going to get anything here. But again, with AEW, you never know. They like to have surprises. So I'm going to be keeping my eye on that trios match and see if anything comes out of that in the future. Number 3, will there be New Japan stars showing up at Double or Nothing? We already got a hint of this past week on Dynamite with Jeff Cobb and the Great O'Khan, or as Jim Ross called him, the other guy, keeping Jim Ross's tradition of not knowing the names of people in New Japan Pro Wrestling, but at least he's consistent. But regardless of that, the Great O'Khan and Jeff Cobb of the United Empire showed up this past week on AEW Dynamite to challenge FTR. Now that seems to be aiming towards the Ring of Honor Tag Team Championships. Of course, the current IWGP New Japan's World Tag Team Championships are held by Bad Luck Fale and Chase Owens, a very interesting combination. If you can see those guys coming out, although now that I just said that, and this is me going off the script now, thinking about the AEW Tag Team title match, which is a 3-way with Keith Lee, a big bruiser, teaming up with Swerve Strickland, Will Hobbs, who's a big bruiser, teaming up with Ricky Starks, and of course the AEW Tag Team Championships, Luchasaurus, who's a big guy, teaming up with Jungle Boy. It would be an interesting thing to see Chase Owens, who's got his own big bruiser, and Bad Luck Fale, if they show up in that tag match. To see Fale in there with Keith Lee, Will Hobbs, and Luchasaurus would be pretty awesome. So I'm actually now I just thought of that right recording this video. That would be pretty cool. So let's see if any of that happens. But obviously the big one that everybody wants to know is the IWGP World Heavyweight Champion Kazuchika Okada going to show up on this show. Now it's probably a fair guess to say that Jay White, since he's so involved, he's the catalyst of pro wrestling, as he's called in New Japan, in all the stuff that he's been doing, all the moves he's been making in Impact and in New Japan, and of course over here in New Japan Strong in the United States. Jay White's been doing a lot of stuff. He's showed up on AEW a couple of times now, stirring the pot a little bit. So we think he's going to be there. But the big thing is Kazuchika Okada going to show up, and what will be the role, as we're probably going to start getting a good idea of what this Forbidden Show is going to look like based on what happens at Double or Nothing. So definitely keep your eye out for some New Japan stars showing up at Double or Nothing this Sunday. Number 2, will the women step up? One of the biggest criticisms of AEW and most of Western wrestling these days is that the women's divisions in all the companies, except for probably Impact, are not getting the shine that a lot of people would like to see them get. And AEW is no exception. In fact, a lot of people have said AEW has one of the worst women's divisions of all the Major League Wrestling companies that have women in it. And that, over the last couple of weeks, we've seen, as AEW tends to do, they listen to the fans and they've been trying to change that. So you've gotten more Serena Deeb on the mic. We've gotten more time with Thunder Rosa. They've got a lot more Jade Cargill segments. We've got a lot of little intrigue things going on. And the women have been getting a lot of time on TV. Some of it good, some of it bad. But on this pay-per-view, where typically there was like 1, maybe 2 matches featuring the women on the show, a lot of them were in cool-down spots. We do have 3 really big matches featuring some of AEW's women and a mixed tag match featuring AEW's women. And, of course, Van Sant, who's coming in from outside, who signed a contract to AEW. So we're going to see now, given the platform, 3 matches. The TBS Championship match, the Owen Hart Tournament Finals with Ruby Soho taking on Britt Baker, and of course the AEW World Championship match, Women's Championship match between Thunder Rosa and Serena Deeb. They're going to get plenty of time, plenty of ability to be able to show what they can do. It's kind of put up or shut up time for the AEW women. I hate to say that, but it is that time for the women's roster for them to show, yeah, we've been held back, or maybe, hopefully it doesn't go the other way of, well, now we know the reason why the women aren't featured as much. So I'm hoping for the former, and that we get to see that the women really stand out and shine and have some of the best matches. And with Serena Deeb taking on Thunder Rosa, even though neither one of them are really great on the mic as far as promos are concerned, the match might be fire. It depends on where it's put on the card, but we're definitely going to see how this all shapes up this weekend. And number 1, who wins the main event? Obviously, the big main event of the card, Hangman Page, the AEW champion, defending against CM Punk. A lot of intrigue in this. This is a different kind of feud. It does, and some people have mentioned this, there is a little bit of a Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels kind of feel to this. Their promo on Dynamite this past week was one of the most intriguing things I've seen in AEW since the MJF stuff with CM Punk. And Hangman Adam Page is the 3rd person, along with Eddie Kingston and MJF, to mention this year in a feud with CM Punk that the AEW locker room does not like CM Punk. They've been tiptoeing around this for a while now, but I want to hear what else is the story behind this. I want them to go a little bit deeper to this. I don't think we're going to get it at Double or Nothing, but maybe we'll get a little bit of hints about this, and I think this could be a very intriguing story. If CM Punk, who legitimately in the promo, and I've said, I did videos about this a while ago that said, you know, the whole revolution in pro wrestling really started with CM Punk and a pipe bomb. And as Punk said, he cut down the trees that provided the lumber that allowed the house of AEW to be built. That's a very, very true statement. And it's intriguing that now that he's in AEW, that a lot of the people in AEW seem to have a problem with him. That is a very interesting storyline that I would love to see them go further with. Are we going to see a heel turn here from either one of these guys? Because Wednesday we saw that the crowd was kind of split 50-50. Online, the crowd seems to be split 50-50. And I'm fairly certain that at Double or Nothing, the crowd might be split 50-50 between Page and Punk. So I'm curious to see that. And of course, on top of that, as I mentioned before, Kazuchika Okada, the IWGP World Heavyweight Champion, might likely be making an appearance on the show, or maybe Jay White might be involved in this. And who knows if Jay White or Kazuchika Okada, who they themselves over in New Japan have got a huge match coming up in a couple weeks at one of their biggest shows of the year, Dominion, for the IWGP Championship. How is that all going to play? Is it going to play into this main event match with whoever wins and winds up being the AEW champion at the end of the show? There's a lot of moving parts to this Double or Nothing show. There's 12 matches on the main show, and we got Hookhausen on the buy-in show. So I definitely keep your eye out on Double or Nothing this weekend, man. They've set up a lot of stuff. Even though the bill for this pay-per-view, I wouldn't say is as good as the bill for the last 4 pay-per-views they've had, or really the last year pay-per-views that they've had. The bill for this Double or Nothing is not as good as the last 4 major pay-per-views they built up to, But I think it's kind of a restructuring, and now I'm seeing there's a lot that's going on here that I'm kind of actually really interested in. That didn't dawn on me until I actually started recording this video and writing down the notes that I wanted to write for it. But I want to know what you guys think. What are your 5 things that you want to see going into and coming out of AEW's big pay-per-view Double or Nothing that's Sunday, live from Las Vegas? Let your voice be heard in the comment box below. Until then, I will see you guys here. I will be doing obviously a review for Double or Nothing on Sunday. I will be catching up with the Best of the Super Juniors tournament. A lot of really cool stuff happening over there right now. New Japan looks like it's really starting to get its swing back right at the right time. And I will also, unfortunately, on the downside of New Japan, be talking about the statement that issued about Kota Ibushi this past week. So all of that's coming up on the channel. So again, make sure you guys subscribe, and I will see you guys later. Have a good day.